Guys, I think I have a problem. Hey guys, welcome back. I blew my CV axle out and I need to replace it. The problem is I replaced it 2 times before, and I'll tell you why. So what I did is I got on the internet, I was like, I need a CV axle. So I ordered a CV axle, and the problem is you see this here, how this is a lot shorter than this one. This is for a ZR2. This is for a normal Colorado or a Canyon. Okay, it's a lot shorter. And these are a lot taller. You can see my problem here. So when I installed one of these, it was pulled out too far on this end and it shredded the fucking thing going down the highway. And so I finally found one on Summit, and I will show on the screen now what the part number is, where I found it. It's $200. Everything else that I tried to find, it was only these. It wouldn't tell me like the dimensions, how long it is, anything like that. It's like, oh, it should fit on there. There's a problem. I bought 2 of these and they don't work. This needs to be longer because it is extended and it is taller. And so I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to do to get all this apart. It's really easy. It's just a pain in the ass. So I gotta take a shit and I'll be right back. So the first order, what you're gonna have to do is I like to get a 2-inch strap or a 1-inch strap, and so I can hang my little brakes. So you have a bolt right here and another one right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. And this is going to hold your actual brake on there. When you take these bolts out, they are going to be a little bit harder to get out, but this is essentially what holds on this whole section right here. And why I have that 1-inch strap there is because I'm not going to take my brake line off, and I don't want to ruin that brake line. I'm going to try to be as detailed as I possibly can with this and explain to you guys what you need to do in order to take this all apart, because the videos that I was seeing trying to figure out how to do all this, because I'm not a mechanic and I'm not very bright, but I was able to figure this out. So if you can do a DIY job working on your own cars, if I can do it, you guys can do it too. Forgot these bolts to hold on this whole mechanism here, but it's going to be 18 millimeter. It is a little bit easier if you have a deep well, because they are kind of recessed back down and they're just slightly. So once I get that loose, this whole thing is going to be loose. And in the past of taking this off, I haven't had to bleed my brakes. As long as you don't get in your truck and start it up and press your brakes, you should be able to slip it back over your caliper here. So I got that off here. And so our next step is we have 2 different bolts. So we have 2 different nuts. We have one right here, and we have one on the bottom of the knuckle, I guess that's what you call it. So once I got that hung up there, I just put it through a little bolt hole right here, and I put the tension there. That way this isn't gonna get bound up, it's not hanging on here. And so we have a couple more things. We have our tie rod end, but you have a nut up here, and you got a nut on the bottom also, or the bolt head on the bottom there, and I'll go over that. We have one nut back here, pointing right here, and we have a big nut on the bottom here. And if you did have a CV axle still in here, you'll have your shaft right here, and that's going to be a 36 millimeter for this nut right here. So the first thing that I have done, so you have 2 bolts right here, on the other side of your little shock right here. And so I'm gonna try to show you guys as much as I can. So underneath here, you have one right here, and there's another one sitting right over here. It's kind of a shitty angle, and maybe this will be a little bit better, but you have a bolt right here, and that is a 15 millimeter. There's a little bit of tension on them, but you just pull these all the way out and it'll release the bottom of the shock. So you have one right here. There's another one right here. And these little clips may fall out. They might pop out. Don't worry, it's not hard to get back in. So I just got a screwdriver. Just gonna go like this. Pull that out. Make sure you don't lose them. Same thing with the other side here. I could get it right angle. There we go. They're not that hard. So this has your threads with those bolts. If you go over here, these match up with these. And that's essentially what holds in the bottom part of your shock. So don't lose these. Don't lose those clips either, or else you won't be able to put your shock back on there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get the swing arm. That's what it's called. I'm gonna get the swing arm. There's one bolt that comes all the way from the bottom, all the way to the top here. There's a nut. There's a bolt head on the bottom. And it is also a 15 millimeter. So I've got a pair of pliers. I'm going to crawl under there, give you guys probably the worst angle possible. And the bottom part of the bolt head is actually a 13 millimeter. You can just hold up top there. It's going to be, if it's the first time you're ever taking it apart, or if you haven't replaced any bushings or your swing arm, it'll be a little bit tight. Just make sure you got a good grip on the top and bottom there, and then you work it all the way out. There we go. So once that whole thing comes out, this is going to go through the bottom. When we put it back together, I'll explain. But this is going to be your bottom bushing right here. You got the bolt head, sorry. And then this is going to go in between right here. So I guess this design for Chevy has been around for a long time, but just make sure your nut's on top, bolts on the bottom, or I'm going to put this back together so I don't lose everything. You will have some tension there. So if you do want to relieve some tension, get the jack underneath here and push up a little bit, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. It isn't completely 100% necessary if you don't want to, but it does make it a little bit easier for your upper control arm, the knuckle, and everything to be a little bit loose. So the reason why we took off these bolts right here, so this can move a little bit more freely, so you don't have that pressure from the shock and stuff. Sorry. It's very hot out here. It's like 108 degrees. I'm in my garage and it's bright. I'm sweating my balls off, but that'll give a little bit of pressure relief on there also. And I forgot that I needed to take off that speed sensor right here. So, and you'll need to move this out of the way, because when you drop this whole like knuckle or whatever the hell you call it, this whole thing is going to come out this way. So let's take care of that real quick. So with this guy, it's a T30, and you're going to back that bolt out all the way, and you do not lose this. Make sure you hold on to that, do not lose it, and this thing just pops out your speed sensor. You can clean it off if you want, whatever. So that little nut that's on the inside of here, and you guys aren't going to have the best angle, but it is a 10 millimeter. And make sure you don't smash your little fingers. I can't remember if this one falls out of this little speed sensor or not. I think it might hang on there. Okay, it does have like a built-in little washer that'll hold on to there. And so I get this all the way out of the way, hang it over kind of where the brake caliper is. But so I got all this out of the way. This is loose. And so we have for your tie rod end right here. So one thing that I did that I completely made a mistake and I had to replace this whole part is you back off the bolt, but you have this part where you can use to hold and then tighten down this part. And what I did is I backed off the nut too much, and then I was hitting it because it was stuck on there. It was pretty much pressed on there. I stripped the threads on here. So I had to order a whole new tie rod end, and it was just a pain in the ass. So make sure you just smack it with the hammer a couple times, or if you have the pry tool that'll pop that open, that's gonna be better than trying to smash it, because you do have this little area right here that gives you some leeway so you can actually tighten it down and press it on there or whatever. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna loosen up my tie rod end here. It's a 13/16. And I got an impact gun. And so the next thing I'm gonna do after I take the tie rod off here, because it's got some pressure pushed on there, I'm gonna get the big bolt that's on the very bottom of this knuckle. And so in order to do that, is I have to get my jack underneath here and push up on this because I don't have enough room. Whew. To break this off the very first time is going to be a pain in the ass. But like I said, it's easier to loosen up your suspension, get underneath this lower control arm, jack it up so you have more room, unless you have a breaker bar, but it's going to be a pain in the ass. All right, so I found out it's a 19 that I got fit under there. The very first time you guys take it apart, it's going to be a total pain in the ass, and everything's going to be pressed together. The last time I took this apart, it kind of all just fell apart. But the first time, it's going to be such a pain in the ass. What do you want, woman? Okay, so I got that bolt all the way, or that nut backed off all the way. And so I got a lot of pressure from this jack at the bottom here. So I'm gonna relieve the pressure a little bit, but I'm gonna hold on to the top here. When you guys take this apart first time, all this part, your tie rod end, the bottom, it's all gonna be very tight. And I'm hoping this time, when I take it apart, this whole knuckle or whatever the hell you call it's gonna just completely fall off, and I can pull the whole thing off. And of course it's not gonna come off how I want it to, but it's doing the same thing it did before. It's just a pain in the ass. There's like a certain way I bet you can probably take these out, and it's hot as fuck, so I'm going to work on this and hopefully I can get it all worked out and give you guys a good explanation. This is how far I've got. I always run into this problem where this linkage won't come out of this part. I have the jack underneath here. I got those bolts out. I got these bolts out. I even took the damn tie rod off because I can't get that to pop out. So I'm trying to hit it with a hammer on the side like this. And I'm hoping it'll come loose. So I'll keep you guys updated, but this is apparently how you're supposed to do it. I've done it before, and last time I took it apart, it all kind of fell apart, but after driving for so many miles and so long, it's kind of sealed itself back up in there. If you were to ask me how easy this job is, theoretically, it's really easy. But if you don't know what to do, oh my God, I've been out here for like 3 hours fiddling with this whole thing. So this is exactly what I did. So I disconnected these after I got off the brake caliper. I took those nuts out. You don't need to do this. It's just, I can't get that tie rod end out. I got the speed sensor out. I got this hanging over here just to show you guys exactly what I did. I got this taken out of there. That way, when I remove this, I don't have to do any of that bullshit. And so this is the hardest part here. So on the bottom, this nut on here, this is tight, not completely 100% tight, but it's tight on here to hold everything. And this thing gets pressed into this hole and it will not fucking come out. And so if you take a hammer, and I was sitting here tapping like this, I'm not hitting it super hard because I completely forgot about this, but sit there and tap it, keep on tapping, and eventually this is gonna loosen that up there. You don't wanna smash it because this is all aluminum. And eventually this is gonna pop out. And then you can get this whole thing out of here. I have to figure out how I'm gonna get that CV axle, that axle part out of there now. And that's gonna be probably the hardest part because I tried to do it before and I wasn't able to, so wish me luck. I'm gonna get under there. I'm gonna get a pry bar with a hammer and try to push it up this way, and then I'm gonna get my fiance to come in here on the top side of it with those pliers and see if we can jimmy that out of there. Okay, so she's gonna hold on to the channel locks there. I'm gonna get underneath here with a pry bar and a hammer, and you're gonna get a bunch of grease all over you. All right, I crawled my fat ass under here.
Is it supposed to come out?
Yeah, it's gonna come straight out.
Are you sure?
100%. I fucking pulled this cocksucking thing out. All right, so I'm under here, go and pull on it a little bit. And so it's stuck in there. It's just the end of that axle. This is all upside down. I'm laying under here. So we're gonna try to get this fucking sucker out of here and then I'll resume the video. Okay, update. I am covered in sweat and my hands are greasy and I got calluses. So I tried to I clamped that with a pair of channel locks under that little boot there, if you can see it. And I was using this as kind of like, I was hooking that and I was using that as like a weight to pull it. It didn't work, so I had to take the CV axle from a regular Colorado that I had that obviously doesn't fit. I cut off the end of there. I'm gonna shove it in here and I'm gonna put the vice grips on there and then I'm gonna yank this motherfucker out. If everything goes smooth, this should only take you maybe an hour and a half. But we are, I don't even know what time it is. It's 2:47. I started this at 11:30. So I'm having a good time. So I'm gonna get this thing ripped out. Hopefully, maybe I'll set the camera up behind me or something, I don't know. So I guess what I could kind of explain, so I'm gonna shove this end inside there, put the vice grip on the outside of that CV axle, and I'm gonna yank this motherfucker out. Ah! Fuck. Okay, I thought it was recording, but it wasn't recording. But it took me a couple tries. I had to shove end of the CV axle in there and then clamp this down. It tried me a couple times, but I was able to compress this part and push it in there and kind of work it back out. In the sense of like, what's the physics of like centrifugal force, I guess, in a sense. So I was going back and forth like that, then it finally worked itself out because that little ring in there holds it in place, which is a good design, but it's also a pain in the ass to get the damn thing out. So I'm gonna get the new axle in. I also ended up taking this off, the hub or the knuckle or whatever the hell you call it. I don't know. All these terms and shit. But I needed a little bit more room, so I took off the bottom there. Okay, and for you guys who don't know a ton, so you have this end, and it has this tiny little ring right here. And this is gonna be the end that's gonna go inside. And this end has the threads. So this will go on like your hub or your, I guess the hub or the knuckle, whatever the hell you call it. So I'm gonna get this in here. And if I remember right, you wanna have that ring on the bottom. And it should slide in and lock in place. Okay, step one is done. So we got the axle on there. It's locked in. It's the right length, thank God. And then we got to get this bastard back on here. Remember, this being a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move this camera. It is easier if you leave this on here and have that bottom bolt just sticking where it needs to be. But in my case, I needed some extra room. I remember this being just a pain in the ass. There we go. But oh, I guess I was right. You gotta have this taken off. It is a little heavy. I know it is aluminum, but you also have that rotor. So there's no real easy way of doing this except being a man. Come on. All right, there we go. That bottom nut on there. That little tight. Whew. Take a break. But it is kind of a pain in the ass to get that all on there, but it is what it is. So that should lock in there. So what I would do also is make sure, in case the new axle you ordered, like this one I got from Summit Racing, it didn't come with another nut. So make sure you save your original nut so you can reuse it. So I'm gonna button up a couple more things. I'm gonna get the tie rod back on there, get that tight. I'm gonna get the upper control arm back on. So maybe I'll just speed run it real quick. So I got that bottom nut on there. I have this, it's not on there completely tight yet. I got the upper control arm on there. I got the tie rod on tight. I still got to put in these bolts for the shock, but I'm gonna get this tight on here, this bottom one, make sure that's snug. I'm gonna tighten up this guy, and then I'm gonna put in a sway bar, little end links or whatever the hell they're called. The upper control arm nut is an 18 millimeter, just in case you guys forgot or I didn't mention that. Oh, it's kind of a crap angle. Get this tight. And you won't have a lot of room to use like impact or drill or anything. So you are a little limited. But what I found works is a deep well. We'll sink this all the way in there, get it clamped down. I think the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna get this. So the big nut on the end of that CV axle is gonna be a 36 millimeter. So you got a big chunker right there. Get that locked down. There is no little clamping ring in there to secure it or anything. That's just how it be. So the bottom's good. I'm gonna make sure you can see. You probably can't fucking see because this light. It's wild how much of an angle these things have. But I'll show you this other side real quick. It's like this side's jacked up and look how gnarly of an angle that is. All right, I'm gonna get this little clamp on there, make sure they get seated. They are kind of a pain in the ass. This one can be a total pain in the ass. I look like dog shit, oh my God. I'm a little hot. I'm fine. Jesus Christ, I look fucking horrible. Get that back in there. You might have to jimmy this a little bit. Preferably if you have a pry bar. You know, if I did this in the wintertime, it'd probably be a little bit better. There we go. It is kind of silly that the bottom of these shocks has just a little clamp that has a nut. It's not like threaded into the actual shock. So, but I mean, it would be really hard for this thing to even pop out of there. So I guess I get it, but I mean, the control arm, lower control arm, upper control arm are cast iron. So they're pretty strong, but it's also like, it's a little fucking weird. At least you're not doing anything too crazy. Like, this truck is capable in some aspects. Like, they put like a locker on it. So like, if you want to do like rock crawling and shit, you can kind of do it, but it's just, what I was hoping for it more when I got it was like a good desert runner, because apparently these shocks are supposed to be so cool. And they're all right, you know, like it does ride better than like a normal half-ton pickup or like a normal Colorado. Like it is a step above. And I don't even know if like King shocks and stuff, like I priced some of those out because I was like, oh, maybe they'll ride better. But I want something that's like pretty smooth, you know, like go on the desert, be hauling ass down a trail, even if there's like, it is quite a bit of rocks and stuff. Like I'm talking like pre-runner shit. That would be a lot cooler, but obviously a lot more money in suspension, and so buy a razor at that point. So those are locked down, and this one, the upper control arm's done, the bottom control arm, knuckles locked in. Just want to make sure this spins freely. It's not going to get bound up. That's good. All right, we got one more thing, and it's the sway bar linkage. I guess we got the brakes also. So it is a little silly. You got this bottom part right here. Come through, you got to slip over this little condom thing. And then it comes up through the top here. And because it's all compressed and everything, it's not 100% down. It's a little off center. Eventually, you know, I'd like to rent out a shop or something and just have a car YouTube. Like that's the main reason why I'm doing this. Have like an actual car lift and all that stuff. I think it would be pretty cool. What I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to swap out, there's a kit, I can't remember who it does, but it swaps out these because these bushings get worn out. And then the swing arm, or the sway bar, the bushings, because you get a little bit of front end noise. So swapping these out, the bushings and everything is going to help with that. And the handling might get a little bit better, but all those bushings are worn out to shit, huh? So I can't remember what it's called, but there's a bushing right here for your sway bar, and you swap that out. You swap out these bushings. Sorry, I keep pointing with the camera. And then it takes away some of that noise. Your handling's a little bit better, and I don't think you have to do alignment, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna get the brakes back on there. Got a little lightheaded. Probably have heat exhaustion, but so that part's gonna be easy. Get that little things on. So I only got a little nut, a bolt, and then lug nuts, and then I'm done. So my camera's gonna die. Okay, I got it done. I'm recording on my phone now, not the camera, but I got it done. I'm gonna go for a little drive here. Put in 4-wheel drive, make sure everything works, but I've got to cool off for a second because I'm pretty sure I got a heat stroke. It's 100, holy shit, it says 110. Yeah, but maybe that's just what it's saying, but it's hitting the garage. I work inside all day, so, but let's make sure this thing is not bound up. Put in 4-wheel drive, make sure it works, make sure there's no clunking sound, because when I changed that shorter one, there was a clunking sound. 4-wheel drive is good. There's a notorious shitty transmission with these. Listen, everything should be good. Pigeons. I'm not going to show you guys my address or anything, so. But so far, everything sounds pretty good. Should be working, and then we'll shift out a little bit of whine there. I wonder if it's got to get kind of settled in there. Let me shift it out a second. All right, we're at a second. You know, I got 89,000 miles on this thing. I need to write the mileage down because I changed the oil earlier. If you guys watched that video, it went horribly. Just spilled oil all over my garage floor. But we're cruising. Everything seems good. I'm gonna do a quick little turn, a sharper turn when I get up here. See if I can maneuver it. Oh yeah, we're good. Smooth as butter. But I'm gonna end the video there. I appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully that made sense. It was a struggle, and maybe you can watch this and laugh at me. I don't know. But I was hoping it was like, oh, it's gonna go smooth. I'm gonna pop that out, pull that out, and then everything's gonna be good. And then like 4 hours in, I'm like, every time I deal with a CV axle in this damn truck, it never goes fucking well. So audio sounds like shit right now. It's just from my phone, but more to come. You know, I'm gonna do some bushings on there. I gotta do an oil pan on my fiance's. She got a VW Jetta GLI, and it comes with a plastic oil pan, and I don't like that. But it sounds ridiculous. It got an MBRP like exhaust, like a axle back exhaust, or maybe it's cat back. It's completely unnecessary. It's retarded though. But all right, guys, thank you for watching. Goodbye.